Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many indie games we play here on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future video, please reach out. But otherwise, let's begin. We are starting things off with There Is No Light. The game has been rebranded to the Enhanced Edition since we last played it, and I don't know what has changed with the updated name. This is an action RPG. We are post-apocalyptic, everyone has been forced underground, there are demons, monsters, and so on. And when the fanatical religious group kills our wife and kidnaps our child for what appears to be a sacrifice, we are going to have to save things by, well, murdering everything around us. The combat here reminds me a little bit of Hyper Light Drifter, in that it's built on high-speed dashing, a lot of kind of stick-and-move style affair. Your key element here is that you have a rage gauge, and that is at the bottom of the screen. As you hit enemies and objects, you'll fill up the bar. When the bar is completely full, you'll be able to perform a special move. This is important because in order to break kind of mid-tier and boss-style enemy attacks, you'll need to hit them with a special, as your normal moves will not stun them. Each area will of course have multiple unlocks, secrets, collectibles, and more to find. This is one of those games that we played this and I thought it was good. It can be a little hard to kind of find your way around. It goes with kind of the Metroidvania style progression where multiple routes are open to you, but not really. And you'll need to figure out where to go, what upgrades to get, and then go around and do them. You can upgrade your character using kind of your experience points. And again, like, this was a game that I liked, but we just had so many titles to play, unfortunately, that I never went back to it. So if you're looking for a very moody and challenging action RPG, I would give this one a check. And now we turn to something a little bit slower pace with Taiji. This is a puzzle game in kind of the similar flow and structure of that of The Witness, in that you are given a very wide world to explore, numerous puzzles that are all built kind of on the evolving logic of the world, and it's up to you to explore, not get stuck, well, better, hopefully you'll do better than I did, and learn the mysteries as to what is going on. I like the aesthetics and structure of this game. You'll go up to each one of the puzzles by stepping on their related buttons, and then having to figure out what kind of pattern the game is asking of you. This could be doing a mirror of what is on the screen, doing the opposite, learning what kind of rules and elements you'll have to do, and so on. There are hidden puzzles, alternate routes, lots and lots of things to uncover. Like The Witness and other puzzle-style games, progression is a little bit different in this one. There are various puzzles, each with their own rules and mechanisms. As you explore, you'll uncover different puzzles that will have their own rules, and these will always be built on top of something that came before. But because the world itself is non-linear, it also means that you can do these puzzles out of order, which also has the impact of meaning that the tutorials and the onboarding are not fixed. And this can present a big problem. For me, I got to a point where there was a puzzle that I had no idea not only what the solution was, but what within the world was the hint that was supposed to guide me towards a solution. And because this is a puzzle game, much like in the span of The Witness and Zachtronics games, if you get stuck at a puzzle because you're not getting the logic, it means that subsequent puzzles built on that logic are also going to get you stuck. And this is obviously a pretty big issue when you're trying to understand what the game is asking of you. And about like 30 minutes into my play, I just hit a wall and I couldn't get past it. And I think that the onboarding could have been a little bit better, maybe make things a little bit more linear at the start, at least to introduce the base concepts of the puzzle solving and the puzzle philosophy. But if you are a fan of puzzles and looking for one that you can really immerse yourself into the world with them, then I would highly recommend this game. If you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit more of a relaxing and easy affair, this one may be a little bit too puzzly for you. We now have Rodents Rewind. This is a game that was submitted via itch, and the version that we played was kind of like, it's like an early prototype or a demo, and I believe it's still being worked on now. This is a 2D kind of action story-driven game, where you're exploring the post-apocalypse with a character who has no memory. The gameplay is split between exploring areas and then getting into combat situations with either minor enemies and boss fights. The challenge here is that your character can only take a single hit, and that means that any one of the myriad of patterns and attacks coming your way can of course knock you out and you'll have to restart the fight. I like the aesthetic of this game, but I was curious to see kind of like what else there is to it beyond just the general exploration and combat. But with the game still being worked on, I believe, I would like to see more of where it's going to end up, and if you're interested in playing it, you can play the browser demo of it on their website. Now up, it is Maleficium, and I'm pretty sure I butchered that name, but it's from the overall brand Real Stories from the Grave. The studio's idea is that each game in this franchise is its own episodic adventure with its own story and so on. The footage you're seeing is from the demo of the game that we played, and it's still in development now. For this episode, we play as a young girl with a sick family. There is rumors of witchcraft going on in the neighboring village, and of course, something weird and sinister is going on. And you also get a pet dog that will follow around and will help you out. The demo itself is definitely high on style. There really wasn't a lot in terms of gameplay. You'll explore your kind of cabin in the neighboring area, there's some light puzzle solving, but all in all, this game is definitely going for the mood of horror rather than being like a full-on survival horror game, at least from what we played of the demo. I did like the style of it. It reminds me a lot of kind of like the early Silent Hills. And like our last game, I am curious to see kind of where this game is going to go in terms of the gameplay and the story. So if you're looking for a nice little horror story to enjoy for an evening, I would check out the demo for this one. Now for some more point-and-click adventures with the Plague Doctor of Wippra. This is a old-school style adventure game. We are in the town that is beset by the plague. As the sole doctor, it's going to be up to us to figure out who to treat, who to save, and of course solve a lot of puzzles along the way. The gameplay here is a mix again of point-and-click adventure with some different choices and narratives based on how you respond to people, who you decide to help and when, and so on and so on. Now, while it may not look it from the pixel art that you're seeing, this game is on the challenging side. The puzzles are going to be on the harder element. It is definitely like the 90s era of point-and-click adventures. And I got stuck in a few places. I had to turn to the guides on Steam in order to get past it. But the story is certainly an interesting one, along with, again, the variety of puzzles and things you're going to uncover. So if you are someone looking for a not-so-happy-go-lucky adventure game, then definitely give this one a check. For the last game of our showcase this week, this is Time Melters. The footage you're seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of it. This is a kind of strategy puzzle action game. The viewpoints and general like movement and motions remind me a lot of Brutal Legend or Sacrifice. Our story here is that we must stop invading hordes of enemies and demons from destroying the land. And to do that, we're going to use the power of Time Rewind in order to aid us. How this works is that you have a limited number of rewinds per map. When you go out into the field, the game will record everything that you're doing, who you're attacking, what spells you're using, etc. when you rewind time, your past self or echo will perform said task. So the challenge is that you must team up with yourself and perform essentially the job of multiple 5, 6, 7 people as one person in order to stop the enemies and complete the map. You can harvest mana that can be used to power various spells, such as summoning spirits to help you, bring trees to life to kill your enemies, and so on. Now, the risk, of course, that your character does not have any health. The second they're hit by an enemy, that echo ends and you go back to the beginning. It's a very challenging affair that definitely combines elements of puzzle and kind of action design. With that said, I did run into an issue that we made to, I think it was like the second or third stage in the game, and I could not figure out what the game wanted me to do in order to keep a kind of escort character alive. You see, you also have to fly around either collecting mana or setting other things up, and there is a lot that is going on in this game. And the order in which you do stuff, the order that you use spells and consume your mana, is going to be paramount to whether or not you'll be able to deal with the enemies. Smaller groups, you can kind of just use your basic spell and kite them around. Larger groups, you must set up spirits or other things in order to deal with the enemies. Now, everything is definitely well executed in terms of the design, but like I said, this is definitely on the harder side of the game to play. I am interested to see kind of where the game has gone since we last played this back in 2022, and there's certainly something here for people looking for a very different take on this kind of action strategy design. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.